Well, hello, fellow traveler. We're here to drop into the collective energy to see what's in store over the next 72 hours. Just an introduction of the energy as we dive into this portal report to see what is coming through that gateway of transformation for us. And when I was tapping into the energy this week, a phrase came through, and that phrase is resilient beauty. And I was sinking into this a bit, meditating on resilient beauty, and so much started to come through. So I welcome you to view this as a touchstone, this phrase, resilient beauty, to carry it with you in your meditations, to take it with you on your walks, to let it find its way into the calm, quiet spaces that interweave throughout your day, and just see what it speaks to you. But I think about the quality of resilience. And when I think of resilience, I always get a similar message coming through imagery that I tend to revisit a lot in relation to that word. And it's when you see dandelions growing through the concrete. That's a good example. Or tree roots that can't be fenced in, can't be contained. They have the ability to endure. They have the ability to go beyond boundaries that are imposed upon them. They have a certain strength of character that, despite any kind of outside attempt at alteration, cannot be coerced to be anything other than what it is. And so it makes me think of that true essence of the soul, that part of us that can't be watered down, that can't be compromised, and that always gives us the strength, the courage to rise, to expand, to grow, to become something more than what we are presently. And that doesn't mean we have to become anything different than what we are either, but more aware, just very aware of who we are and embodying that and living from that place. Resilience is that quality within us that no matter what comes our way, it's the determination of the human spirit, the will to rise again, no matter what, the will to stake one's claim, one's right to live a full, rewarding life without any sense of being reined in, to have that freedom of expression. Resilient. It's a strength that pulls through when you don't know how you found it. You may even feel like it's sourced from something otherworldly, something divine, and maybe it could be. And maybe it's also just something that's innately inherent within you, something that's been cultivated within you through moving through a life that has been a bit like an obstacle course, a life that gave you no other option except to endure. It is that quality that will make you endure no matter what. And then I think about beauty. And beauty is something that can inspire us with awe. It's something that can soften us. When we see beauty, we immediately soften. Even if we see beauty in something that's tragic, it softens us. It makes our heart yield. And something comes through, something deeper, something richer, something that is a bit of a treasure when we witness beauty. And so it's often when we come across beauty in stark surroundings that we do have the ability to endure. We have the ability to be resilient no matter what we're navigating. And so I feel like this is something we're being charged to do over these next 72 hours, to really be mindful of the beauty anywhere you can find it, no matter how small it may seem. Notice it as a seed of potential. And within this seed of acknowledgement, just being aware of the beauty, calling it out when you recognize it, whether it's in another, or it's in an exchange you have, or it's in something you're seeing in your environment, something you're witnessing in nature, something arising within yourself. Even if it's in something that appears on the surface might normally be considered ugly, like having a huge emotional release of grief, pain, and yet feeling the beauty of the freedom of letting that go, tapping into the beauty that's on the other side of laying something down that's been a tremendous burden. And notice how every time you spot the beauty, you feel resilience rise in you. Notice where you see beauty coming through in your environment in the form of resilience, people who inspire you with the beauty of their strength, with their beauty to endure despite the trials they've been through, where you see it in nature, where nature can't be fenced in, where it can only be inherently what it is, true to itself, wild and free. And just see what comes through in those moments. So recognizing the beauty within resilience and the resilience that's within beauty, the way the beauty endures, despite what ugliness we may confront in our reality, and the fact that resilience is there too. Because deep at the core of us, there is the will. There is the will to endure. And this is something that's really wanting to come through at this time. I felt called to get us a card from the Kali Oracle. I don't often pull out this one, but it feels fitting since we just moved into the spring season. And I wanted to bring in this sort of initiatory energy. We had this liminal space come in of being at the threshold, neither in the past nor firmly on our path that leads us to our destiny, but more just sort of holding the space for the possibility of stepping through that gate. And she guards over those gateways of initiation. She guards over the in-between spaces. She's the creative force and she's the destructive force. She's both. She's all the cycles of transformation in one. And so I thought it'd be illuminating just to see what wants to come through Kali Ma. So calling on Kali Ma to give us some words of wisdom to open up this portal report over the next 72 hours. Maybe teaching us something about resilience, teaching us something about beauty, resilient beauty, how we can tap into that, how it can empower us, or anything else you feel we need to know. Oh, beautiful. Look at this. Bhava Tarini. She speaks of a culmination point. You've integrated some pretty potent lessons. And though you may not see the transformation that's underway, it's already in process. There's a recognition coming through here that you are crowned by a certain wisdom that you gained through the experiences that you've been through, and that you've made it through one significant gateway of initiation. But there's more unfoldment to come. There's more to be recognized. There's more wisdom that you're going to come into. But there is something that's coming in here as a moment of recognition for you. And this has been really coming into the downloads recently, where you've needed some kind of confirmation that you're on the right path, or you've made the right choices, or you successfully navigated a series of intense tests from the Master Maker. There is something coming through here in a very real way that's recognition that you made the right judgment call, that you acted from a place of wisdom, that you acted from a place of your healing and not your wounding. And there's something very powerful about this moment of recognition that wants to come through. It is the foundation for your future. So let me go ahead and get one card here from Kali and see what else she wants to bring through in relation to this moment of recognition, this gift that's coming through, this awareness that is starting to surface in you in relation to something you successfully navigated. It's something you finally rose above. It used to be quite the opposite. You know, you had to cultivate your resilience in this arena over time through many tests and trials, much opposition. Okay, we got a few things coming in here. We do have one card that's on the bottom facing up, so I'm going to put this aside because I feel like this is our main message. But there's other input she's wanting to bring in here. So we have Dharma of Kali, and look at you in that liminal space, the in-between space. Isn't that wild? Look how that came in with Baba Tarini. Here's the moment of really recognizing, wow, I navigated that. I got through the other side of that. I'm not back there anymore. But you're in this space right now where you haven't quite fully stepped out of the shadow and the recognition of everything you've retrieved from your time journeying there. But it's coming. The awareness will come soon. This is a deeply integrative process that you're going through right now. It's all about knowing how to hold both your shadow and light in equal measure and recognizing the value of each. It's only when we're not in full conscious awareness of our shadow that it can be a destructive force. The shadow can be a place of germination. It can be a place of growth, rest, fertility. It is the place where we seed our visions, where we seed our alchemy work. It's the birthplace of the light. It's what calls the light forward within us and our awareness of the light around us. It's only when we're afraid to look at the shadow or when we're not willing to dive into those depths that it can have power over us, because it comes from more unconscious, distorted spaces. But ironically, the shadow is where we do get the impetus to transform. And so both are valuable on the path. This is you learning how to be the center balancing point. It's also really evoking that imagery that was coming through of you being at the center of the world tree, Lagus, that energy running through you. The energy of Isa is transforming into Lagus. The thaw is coming on because of the initiation of the fire. The fires are burning and they're bringing about transformation. They're going to start to dissolve the places within you that are contracted, the places within you that are holding yourself in a chrysalis state when you are ready to sprout those wings and experience a new type of freedom here. So soon that thaw is going to come on and the rivers within you are going to start to flow. And as the rivers within you start to flow, so will your emotions. And as your emotions start to flow and clear, you'll find the movement will naturally head into the creative, and you will feel the call to merge that energy, the passion, the purpose, the sense of connection with the drive, the will, the action that transforms your life with the fire. And that will be the alchemical point when you stop resting at the threshold and you walk through, not really abandoning the shadow, because it's not about that. It's about integrating it and holding it in a really empowered way. And this is what you're going to learn. This is what you're learning right now. And some of you have already been through experiences like this in your life, and you're experiencing it now on a deeper level. You're integrating things that you thought you would never be able to integrate. You're relating to things that at one point would have been very difficult for you to acknowledge and rise above. And now it's so easy to just let the attachment fall away. This is really coming into a place of integration within the self. It's very beautiful energy here. Yes, and with this we have Shri Bala. So this is just this moment of mindfulness, pause, being in this space of no-thingness and understanding within that space of no-thingness, there's resilient beauty here. There's resilient beauty here. And the more you can come into this mindful state, the more you will see the resilience in the beauty, and the beauty in the resilience, and how they're both in the center of you. It's going to be a meditation point that will guide you in the week ahead. And then here we have Bhuvanaswari. And see, now you rise crowned with this new knowledge, this new awareness. And it has the sense of entering your golden era. And when I think of golden era in this respect, gold always makes me think of the alchemical process. So this is you receiving some kind of acknowledgement, something that is being given to you, an affirmative experience, it feels like, from spirit. And it's something deeply personal to you that lets you know that you successfully transcended something that used to serve as a limitation. It's when you finally have graduated from one path and now you're entering onto a different timeline that holds a whole new set of experiences that are going to take you to the next level here. It's beautiful energy. And here is where the focus is coming through. We have Khadga. Very powerful imagery here. So this is really recognizing that once you have this moment of seeing the beauty in what fostered that resilience within you, your time in the shadow, the difficulties you had to navigate, all the experiences that you had to transcend in order to have the courage to rise, keep going, in order to have the courage to let certain things go. With this Kartika energy here, these Kartikas are used to cut away what no longer serves. They're used to hook up energies that we no longer need to be attached to. They're a way of cutting through the veil of illusion and sacrificing that which has served its purpose, letting it be an offering that signifies not only reverence in the depths of life, but also the beauty of the resilience for life to endure and what comes through the other side of that. And even in the letting go, there's something that flowers there. We think of that when plants wither on the vine, when everything moves into a stage of decay in the winter, that energy nurtures the soil. It nurtures new growth as all of the fallen leaves and all the vegetation is sort of composted back into the earth again. It allows new things to grow. Even the bones that are in the earth nurture the soil. New things grow from that. We grow from the roots of our past. There's still empowerments we hold that are carried within our DNA through our bloodline, through the wisdom of the stories of our ancestors. This is all of that. Know your roots, know the foundation. And it's also really looking at your own personal lore, your own personal character arc, and looking at the origin story of how you got to this place and really recognizing how much resilience you have cultivated there. And it came through the endings you experienced. It came through you having the strength to release yourself from certain ties that at one time were bindings to you, certain concepts you had of yourself, certain beliefs that limited you or held you back. And so you're in this place where you're having this mindful pause at the threshold, at the integration point. And you're holding these experiences reverently, and you're offering up what you're releasing in a symbolic gesture of trust. Trust that the beauty will endure, that it is resilient, that you are resilient, and there's beauty there too. It's actually a really beautiful message. And that you successfully navigated a very challenging passage on your path. And this is leading you now into your golden era. It's when the sun starts to come through. It's a really beautiful message with that. Okay, I want to see what it is that you are in the process of alchemizing here. Well, you definitely fought hard to get yourself to a certain perspective, to a certain station, you could say, a certain resting point. You faced a lot of opposition. You probably had to be true to yourself, even though others doubted you, or maybe you faced a lot of disagreement or people who didn't understand why you were making certain choices, why you were taking certain actions, but you had to be true to yourself. You had to have conviction, a sense of purpose. You had to be true to your path. And because of this, you've gained a certain elevation. You have transformed something fundamental. And this new position you hold is secure. It's something that can't be taken from you. And there's a moment of pause here, recognizing that you're never going to go back to certain spaces, places where you used to be. And when I'm saying that mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Even if you were to go to your old haunting grounds or connect with people maybe that you haven't seen for a bit, the way you were connecting with those people before, the way you were experiencing your interactions, it's not going to be like that any longer because you're not who you were. And also others around you, they're going through changes too. This is a big time of change for people in general. So this is really recognizing that life is a lot different now. But there's something about the current position you're in where there's elevation here. You may have felt like you didn't get much of anywhere, but there's sort of like a referential point coming up here where you're really going to understand how much distance you've traveled, how much you have changed, how much you are becoming someone that you haven't really met yet. And others haven't either. There might be a little need to have some patience around that as people adjust to the growth. I don't think people talk about that much, how challenging it can be when somebody grows, when you've always known them to be a certain way, how much we can inadvertently put old projections of people upon them and thereby limit our potential in that connection, in that relationship, just because of an unwillingness to acknowledge, witness the growth in another person, and how that can really cut off potential growth in connections, relationships, opportunities. This coming in. Interesting. Okay. So be open-minded. Okay. Even as you find yourself reacting more from response than a place of feeling like activated. Maybe in the past, others could get a rise out of you. Now you don't feel the rise to provocation because you have a different understanding. And yet this is funny how this is kind of coming through. There might be some people thinking that you're kind of like messing with them by doing that. Like you're acting like it's not important, or you're belittling them in some way, or stating that what they feel is not of value or not worthy of consideration simply because you're not getting riled up the way you used to. People can get in really dysfunctional patterns where they translate caring into being reactive, into things like lashing out, or becoming argumentative. And it's really not true. You can hold all that compassion and understanding and awareness without having to be reactive. You can feel all of those things and yet not feel attached to another in an unhealthy way, or feel like you have to somehow lose your own position, your own perspective in a situation simply because somebody else has a different take, okay? So it can take time for people to adjust when there are people going through deeply transformational growth processes, sometimes brought on by crisis, sometimes brought on by the nature of their path and their desire to really transform, to be more conscious. And everybody's at a different place and everybody has different experiences, and none of it's wrong, and it's all part of your personal journey. So there's something about this, like really transcending and alchemizing these qualities of enmeshment. Yes, this is the work. You've been doing the work. You've been actively working on yourself. You've been very focused on your work in general too, your craft, something you're pouring your energy into. It's meaningful for you. The work you're doing on yourself is also pouring over into the work you're doing in the world, the work you're doing in your relationships, the work you're doing in your family. Yeah. Also, it's opening up doors of opportunity for you to step into new spheres that you never would have considered before. And maybe others wouldn't have considered these opportunities for you either, you know, because they saw you a certain way. And so it's a little bit of a shocking moment. It's a shocking moment. As much as you feel sort of in that place of shock in relation to things that are going to start coming your way, relationships, opportunities to heal, opportunities to grow and expand in the material sector, ways to show up in the world, share your work. You know, as much as that shocks you and bewilders you, give, you know, a fair amount of room for others to also have that same sort of experience when they're encountering you, especially if they are bumping up against really rigid views they had of you, or what they thought was possible for you, or what they thought you were capable of achieving, or how they identified you, you know. See, people are starting to really bump up against the edge of their comfort zones. This is going to happen more and more because as we move into the Aquarian age, it's all about stepping into greater expansion. Okay, so something wanted to turn over and then it hid. No, not quite ready to expand that far yet. Can we get something out here? Anything out here? Anything else about what we're alchemizing here before I move on to the ARCANE BS? Oh, here we go. Yeah. See, I see what this is. It's like the scales are sort of shifting. The balance is shifting. Things are not quite what they were. And you are moving more into the spirit of the Page of Swords, which the Page of Swords upright, especially in relation to these other cards I got here, this is more you being daring, being able to sort of cast off that old identity or the old roles that you used to play. And because of that, it sort of opens up your playing field and it makes you a little bit more willing to push the envelope and to do things maybe that you wouldn't have done before, because you feel like you can kind of press your luck now, especially if you have had a falling out, especially if you have found yourself really in a new space where, you know, maybe the slate's been cleaned in your life. You're not even associating with the same people you used to. You're meeting a whole new community of people, and anything's up for grabs at this point because life is what you make it from here forward. It's sort of like having a new beginning point, this new timeline. And I see you being more daring, more adventurous, willing to take more risks, and sort of seeing what you find instead of having to have everything so planned out. And I think this is, you know, what's kind of challenging, because I feel like these scales are being balanced in such a way where, you know, there may have been others who used to feel like they were in charge of your balance. Like they got to say how much you could rise, you know, and when you needed to take a seat and what was right for you. But now this balance is shifting here, where it's not about one being on a lower level than another. It's really about recognizing, no, you know, we can meet in this space and we can respect our differences and we can meet in that space eye to eye. It's not about one person having any kind of domination over another. And this is what's been transformed. You had the strength to rise above old power structures of the past. In some cases, you gave your power away. In some cases, you were the one who held power over others. But there was something that was imbalanced in the give and take, or in the way that your presence was appreciated, or the way you expected too much recognition at the detriment of another. This is about push-pull dynamics, power dynamics, and you really discovering that the true power and strength is found in gentleness, in acceptance, in release, in letting go, in not trying to force your will or your way on anyone else. Understanding that when you're dealing with somebody that's operating like that, it's usually because in some way they're feeling wounded or vulnerable, and that's why they come off like that. Doesn't mean you have to tolerate it. I do want to make that point clear, okay? Doesn't mean you have to tolerate it if you're dealing with somebody like that. You can have compassion and understand what's sort of motivating them to operate like that, even if that's something that they are not willing to look at or aren't consciously engaged in resolving, healing for themselves. It doesn't really matter, and it's not even really your job to point it out to somebody else, to be honest with you. But this is just about understanding where it comes from, so you don't have to personalize it. You know what I mean? And it also doesn't mean you have to like stick around and put up with the crap. You don't. You know, a lot of times it does involve you being true to yourself and recognizing that you don't need to tolerate spaces that you've outgrown either, because that can really hold you back. So I see you having the strength to free yourself from these kind of dynamics where it's not a sharing of power and something's really out of balance. And cut of the deck here, what do we got? And this is what's really like lighting your fire. It's reinvigorating your will, because you no longer feel held back. You no longer feel held back in disappointment and looking at what went down in the past. See, right now you're sort of just in this in-between space, but there will come the point where you turn around and you step onto the new timeline and you recognize, oh, there's something waiting here for me. It's been waiting for me. It's not about, you know, it coming to me, but it's more me being ready to open up for it to come in. You know, it can't come towards you when you're not ready for it. And this is something that'll be discovered. Let's see what's behind this. Yeah, it's a heavy load you're carrying here, but with the 10 of Wands, you're almost done with the heavy lifting, but you do need a lot of fire for where you're going. So maybe you had to, you know, chop wood, carry water in order to bring this in. And look at that. The wish becomes a reality. So there is this moment that will be achieved. It's just up ahead. It seems like it's a ways off, but it's actually not. It's there as soon as you're ready for it. That's what I really see. As soon as you're really ready for it, and you have this final, like, last gasp release of the rough stuff, and you give it up. You give it up as your offering. offering in the way that you recognize the beauty in it. See, it's you recognizing the beauty and the strength in it that is your offering. That's what opens the road, truly. That's what opens you up to receive this gift. This wish fulfillment. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what comes in here with the ARCANE BS deck. Yeah, you know, it's sort of like freeing yourself too from these self-imposed ideas of what it means to be a spiritual person. You know, it doesn't have to fit within a box. It doesn't have a set presentation. It's not about what anybody else thinks about it either. This is your path. So this is about you being able to see the beauty in the times you were angry or the times you popped off. I mean, maybe you needed to. Maybe you needed to go real far left to go right so you could actually find that balance, so you could find your center. Maybe you held everything in for so long trying to appear like a good person, like you were doing the right thing and I'm spiritual and this is what it means to be spiritual, that I never get angry or I never get raw and down and dirty with it. No, it's actually like quite the opposite. The more authentic, the more true to yourself, to your path, to what you feel you can be, the more you're in the zone, then you can actually clear all that out. It's not held within in a space of internal breeding resentment that actually is something that really is like a disease that's festering in the body. There's something about understanding that there can be righteous rage. It's okay if you needed to tell somebody to F off. You might have needed to do that. As far as you know, this may actually be part of what you came here to do. How many lifetimes have you been going through this cycle with this individual? Maybe lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. They abused their power and you played the subservient role. And this was the lifetime that you finally said, no more. Open yourself up to the mystery. Don't judge yourself harshly for times when you may have acted out of character. And if you have people say, well, you changed, we'll celebrate that. Because it's about time you did. It's about time you did. Or let's say that wasn't a shining moment. And maybe somebody called you out on your anger. And that's something you never acknowledged before. The way that you had used anger as your point of control to make you feel strong, to make you feel powerful. And maybe within getting called out in that moment, there was a facade that slipped and you felt vulnerable all of a sudden. But there's some kind of wisdom that came through that experience. There's something you saw differently. And even though it may have been awkward or uncomfortable, or maybe people are looking at you funny, like, how can you be a spiritual person? I mean, I remember you when, and they kind of bring all of your experiences you shared with them from the past back to haunt you, as if you have to live out of some old version of yourself. And it's like, there's nothing to be ashamed of, though. It took those experiences to get you to the place of consciousness to where you are now. That's how the peace, that's how the love comes through. That's how you get out of those rough waters and you do find there is a shore up ahead. I'm not lost at sea. So not all is lost here. All right. This is really about valuing your personal experience, valuing your own impressions. Your spiritual path is very intimate. It's between you and however you relate to your soul. Nobody else gets to define that or critique that for you, okay? Yeah, time to let all that energy go. It's way overdue. And here we go with the pantless beekeeper again. Okay, so again, there's something here about others trying to shame you for who you become, because they want to say that in some way you're not that, but yet they haven't gone through the experience you have. The reality is you hold the sweetness in your hands, and they're not looking out of that window in the grid, because you're the one who walked the path and found the way to get that view. So they're kind of like putting you in a position maybe where you feel like you have to protect yourself, and where you feel a little exposed or judged for what you're stepping into now. There may be others who try to shame you when a certain opportunity or this recognition comes your way, because they see the sweetness that you hold. They want a part of it. But there's something here about not allowing yourself to be shamed or belittled or have this sweetness in any way tainted by the perspectives of outsiders who didn't walk your path, and allowing yourself to have this moment. Okay? Allowing yourself to have this moment. It's very key. What is this sweetness? Could you give some details what this sweetness is that's coming in for the collective? What is this sweetness they hold? I mean, I feel like you've been reaching for this for a while. You dealt with a lot of vulnerable territory to get to this place where you could finally be ready to receive this. I think you've had to be self-protective in some cases. And you were dealing with antagonistic people, but this time has arrived. Okay, we got crossing energy, and it's interesting because it's sort of like there's two there's two crossroads here. So I feel like there's one crossroad here you have to make your way through, and then there's another one up ahead. Yeah, you may feel like you have to keep it moving right now. You may feel like you have to keep it moving right now. You know, you just have to do what you need to do to keep going. You can't stop moving at this time. There's something you're very intently focused on, an objective you want to achieve here. It's like you've made do with much less in the past, but there's something in you that's hungry for so much more, and you're not going to settle for less. I see that. You're not about to settle for less. And there is some kind of judgment coming through here. And I do feel like you're getting yourself ready, steady, ready to take some kind of daring action. It may appear daring to others, but I feel like it's something you're actually well prepared for. So let's see what we got going on here. Well, all of this came up in reverse. This is interesting. So this might be something you're in the process of sort of like revisiting, or there could be somebody connected to you that is looking at this. Again, there was that message we got about, you know, really needing to first head deep down into the South Node before being ready to turn around the energy. So this could be speaking very strongly to that, because we have the inverted squirrel in reverse. So it's sort of like you've been focusing your sights in the wrong direction in relation to what you desire here. There's something you need to get a little bit of a different perspective around before you really discover what that thing is that you've been looking for all along. And it may have something to do with a bridge that was burned too hastily. This may be even a bridge you've been considering burning, but you haven't yet. It's like you got the match lit, you got the fuel for the fire, but you haven't taken the action yet. It's just something you've been strongly considering. And that is something you need to strongly consider, because this message has come through before too. So I feel like this message is coming back around the bend. If you do strike that match and you light that fuel, you may burn a bridge that down the road, when you get further along and recognize, oh, shit, I've been kind of like looking in the wrong direction as far as what I thought was going to give me fulfillment. I actually need to cross that bridge I burned back there. Okay? And that can make things more challenging. But if you find yourself in that position, your soul set it up that way to learn a certain lesson, right? Because I do feel there could be somebody out here that's having this recognition that, oh, I thought the dawn was that way, but now I see the dawn is back there. And I totally imploded that. And yet it was my roots. I didn't know my roots. I didn't know the thing that I should invest in, that I should really root, that would grow and become a legacy for me, something that would endure. Instead, I blew it up. I destroyed it, you see. This hasn't happened yet, though. Not all is lost. Not all is lost. So there's like a redemption point here. So maybe you need to figure out what this is. Have a little time as you're sitting in that liminal space. Figure out, is there something that maybe you'd given up on, or you were just ready to just say, screw it, toss it in the bin. You thought there was no life left in it. You know, have you been investing in another direction and then recognizing, oh man, maybe this ain't it. Okay, there's something about getting a different view here, but this is a crossroads. I feel this is like this at the threshold space we're in right now. Something needs a different perspective, and it is calling to mind that journeying work that I will be bringing in this week for you all. But you're getting very close to moving out of the indecision, because it's coming up in reverse again, okay, at the crossroads. You gotta make up your goddamn mind, right? But with it being in reverse, I do feel like something's going to become clear. And it's almost like it becomes clear and you understand exactly where you belong once you free your mind. It's almost like you got to stop thinking about it. You got to get into the experience of it. You have to feel it out. You can't think it out any further. The more you think about it, explore options, the more impure it becomes. The more impure the offering becomes. That's how it becomes kind of like the gross cup, you see? That's when that Page of Swords energy moves more out of the place of daring and adventure and willingness to take a risk, and more into calculation, scheming, plotting. It distorts the energy. It's no longer spontaneous. It's not something that's really sourced from the flow of the moment, the inspiration, the emotions, the passions that are stirring, the quality that does make you feel like moving in this direction, that gravitational pull, the magnetism, you know? The magnetism of the moment is where you'll find yourself in the right spot, rather than, you know, trying to think of option A or option B or making up lists of pros and cons and all that crap. Actually, at this point, is going to really hold you back. It's going to hold you back in this sort of in-between space where you're more considering your life's choices from the vantage point of the other. And that's very unhealthy. That's not going to get you where you need to go. You need to make clear choices for yourself and trust where others are involved. That's where you're going to find your true alignment, you know, is when you're in that pure, spontaneous space within yourself and you're responding authentically to the moment, transparently to the moment, not like trying to figure out, well, what is the other feeling? And let me like adjust what I'm doing according to what they're doing. That's what I see here. It's like getting over a bunch of BS, man. There's a lot of interpersonal stuff coming through lately, but I feel it's because we're really moving up to that rebirth of Venus energy with that Libran flower moon that's coming up. So yeah, it's going to be on that axis, right, where you have Aries with Saturn and Neptune hanging out there. It's all about the dreams we desire for ourselves and that individuation bumping up against the urge to merge with the other, you know, and how do you do that? And it doesn't just have to be romantically, right? Because when we look at that house of Libra, it's also business partnerships and any kind of mergers that carry weight to them. You know what I mean? Like you're really joining forces, and that can even be in opposition, right? Because it is the house of open enemies as well. So it's sort of like, where are you investing your energy to? That's something that you want to be mindful of as well, because if you're very divided in conflict and you're putting so much of your energy into others, you're really giving your power away. You need to bring that power back, you know, into center, focused on yourself, and that can really prevent you from burning a bridge you need to cross. Your bridge. It's like, you know, so focused on burning somebody else's bridge, you inadvertently burn your own, you know, that kind of energy there, okay? But I feel like with that coming out in reverse, you are going to make up your goddamn mind. You are going to get clear. I see it. You're going to get clear. But there's something that does need to be integrated here. So do look for this to start to kind of surface. And I feel like you'll know. You'll know when you hit it, because there's some kind of instant recognition that comes through. There's some kind of wish fulfillment. There's some kind of acknowledgement. Yes, you've successfully navigated it. That's it. That's the sweet spot. You got the lesson. Pass go. You're not in the threshold anymore. You know, that's when you really realize, okay, I know where I'm at and I know where I'm going. And the false paths fall away. And you suddenly feel free of all those sort of contrived experiences. Nothing is calculated anymore. You're just in the flow and you're responding very naturally, spontaneously to your life. And it's a beautiful thing, you know? It's a beautiful thing when you operate on that level. Let's do a cut of the deck here, see what we got. Yeah, and then you'll be going somewhere with a sense of purpose. There's help coming in here, 333. There's help coming in to draw down this new reality, to get yourself on the correct timeline here. And I do feel once you see it, you're going to be so focused and driven in that direction that you're no longer going to hold space for doors of opportunity that only leave you drained, that only leave you exhausted. You're ready to see into the mystery. And in order to be able to see into the mystery, it's like you're offering up the experiences of your past and the pains of your past and the challenges of your past, but with gratitude, because they made you ready to step through this door, this unknown door, and all it can bring into your life that is going to be the very thing that leads you to your fulfillment. But before, you would have stayed more in your safe space. It's what you were accustomed to, but something's transforming for you here. And you're finding your way to the other side. I like it. It's good energy. Really good energy. Anything else I want to bring through? I don't know why. I kind of want to bring through super awesome future cards. Let's see what might be coming in here. So if you're in the middle of some cathartic process as you're sitting in the threshold, you're almost there. Okay, one more thing that needs to be done. Oh, this card got left behind here. Oh, the temptation. Oh, the temptation to continue to hang out with the snakes in the grass or activate your self-knowledge and find another who is ready to root something with you in a way that helps you transcend these sort of shadows of old realities you used to live out from. There is a tower of power here. You see this lightning bolt raising from the roots. There could be another here of significance. We have the star energy coming in there, and it does break down to 8. So there could be a past matter here. There could be a past matter that is something that needs to be resolved, because there's something that is important to unify here. It can be 2 aspects of yourself, certainly. Could be just getting your emotions and your actions, you know, on the same page. So you're not acting in ways that are really out of harmony with what you're feeling. It could also be somebody important that you need to join forces with, that you need to connect with, but you're kind of like living out old storylines because they've become very grooved and rutted and just what you're familiar with. And that's only going to lead to further deception, further temptations that are going to bring more challenges and repeat cycles, right? But there can be a way that if this involves another, whether this is somebody that is acting as a teacher, and truly no matter how the connection is coming through, whether it's a lover or somebody you're creating with, or somebody who's a business partner or a family member you're going through a healing process with, or somebody brand new that is going to show you new things that you've never experienced before, or introduce you to aspects of yourself you didn't even know existed. There's still that piece there of really being able to open up to the experience in a fresh way, like in a new way, not seeing things through the lens of the shadows of the past. And you can trip yourself up and sacrifice what should be a really rewarding experience for another round in Karmicville, you know, because there was something that you didn't want to integrate or look at because it was uncomfortable. There's a really need to look at your temptations right now and be honest with yourself. You don't have to tell anybody else, just being honest with yourself. Do a little inventory. What are your temptations, especially those things where maybe, you know, like, yeah, I'm tempted to do that, but I know that that's not really a healthy thing to do, or that's not the balanced way to approach a situation. The more you can be conscious of those things that you would rather just sort of like push aside and not delve into deeper. I mean, sometimes people are like, I'm just going to go with it. I want to do that. So that's what I'm going to do. And they know that it's not the best thing to do, but they would rather just do it anyway than really hold the space for acknowledging why they're motivated to do that, you know? There's something about really understanding the roots of your temptations right now and how it's preventing you from having this unification point with something that you're really meant to come together with. Can be another person, can be your path of purpose. Whatever it is, it seems like it's coming through as your reward for the hard work you've done. So don't let this pass you by. Yeah, and don't let this pass you by compromising with something that you've already called judgment on, where you know it's a raw deal, where you know it's an inequity, where you know you don't meet eye to eye, where you're just like a sitting pigeon and this other person holds all the power here. Don't sacrifice your truth for this kiss up energy. You know, can you be bought? Can your soul be bought? I mean, you might have to ask yourself some questions, what success means to you, what you're willing to compromise in order to get what you want. Like, there's something there that does need to be looked at. And yet it's interesting to me because I feel like if you make the right judgment call, you got like the crow energy coming through as like karmic law saying, here's your reward, you know, well done. You got the message. So you get the reward, you know. So there's a little bit of a test here about what are your desires and what place are they sourced from, and how are you willing to compromise yourself or be complicit just for the sake of saying, well, I got what I wanted, you know? I don't know. There's something here. There's something here that needs to be looked at. Yeah, it's coming through. And look at this. We got attack energy. Yeah. You want what you want. You know, 6 energy, Venusian energy. Love and what? War. You know? Where are you just desiring to have what you want with no care or regard to how it affects everybody else? Right? There's somebody you're dealing with or something you're dealing with here. It's coming to a head. Look, with that full moon. It's something that's coming to a head with that full moon. We got the prayer flags hanging there. It's like, yeah, you know, I need to call in some calming energy. I mean, it does feel like something's going to be a little out of this world. There's something brewing here. There could be somebody who's really raging for order. Somebody is out for someone's head. Maybe because they feel like they got really burned in love. Somebody really hurt their heart. Somebody threatened their ego. That's how it's coming through. And they want to get a grip of the situation, bring about their own sense of justice there. Hoping to pull up the anchor, get you in a tight spot. Oh, they'll be happy, but it doesn't look like this dude's too happy here. You know, this is needing to get a little bit different of a perspective here. This is interesting because this is bringing in a message I've gotten before about the star. This total together, 11 and 6, breaks down to 17, the star. And again, 8, strength, right? But if you look at the traditional imagery of the star in the tarot, it really does look like Narcissus gazing at his own reflection in that pool of water. And I've often thought about that, about how we can get so caught up in our own reflection, our own emotions, our own processing and what we desire, that there's no recognition, you know, of how others are going through stuff too, and the ways that we can sort of go on the attack and not recognize, even though we may feel righteous in doing that, how much destruction we're leaving in its wake. And that's interesting because Kali came through. And it reminds me of that story of Kali and why she sticks out her tongue and how she was enraged. She was enraged with what was going on in the world, and she was heated. And well, she is creatrix, but she's also destroyer. And so she was so enraged, and righteously so, but she was so enraged that she was just destroying everything in her path. She was on the war path. And everything was going to be lost if she just kept going that way unchecked. And so her beloved Shiva was like, whoa, I got to get her to come into this moment and be present before all is lost. And so he took it upon himself, Shiva took it upon himself to lay down on the path and block her way forward so she wouldn't destroy anything else because already so much had been lost. And she was so caught up in her own emotions and her own process and her own righteous rage that she took a step and her foot landed on Shiva's chest. And when she looked down and saw that she was hurting the one that she loved, she stuck out her tongue in shame. That's why she puts her tongue out. It's also like the desire of, get that out of me. I want to release that. I don't want to hold that in me. And so then the energy transformed, you see? So there's this kind of quality that's coming into the relationships right now where it's finding, somebody's waving a peace flag here. They're sending up some prayers with that full moon. You know, is there a way that we can kind of ground things out a little bit? Also, there could be a situation where things have gotten like a little too out there, like people feel like they're in such unknown territory. They don't know how to navigate situations anymore. So there's a lot of befuddlement here. There's confusion, in some cases fear. And some people, they know they did stuff that, you know, they really shouldn't have done. And they might be worried about their heads, you know, and they're running for cover here. So I could see this. You know, I see the spaceship there. And yeah, there's been, on a macrocosmic level, there's been a lot of stuff happening in our sky for sure. Probably will be more of this kind of stuff coming in, but it also makes me think of invaders from Mars. And I think of that Mars-Venus, you know, dynamic when we're looking at that Aries-Libra axis with this full moon. So I do feel like this stuff relationally is coming to a head, especially in terms of what I want and then what you want, or what I want and what the group wants, or what's good for me and then what is good for the collective. So there's like this need to kind of navigate this territory and being mindful of the way that's navigated, where it's not trying to control others or coming off as just running roughshod over people. Okay, be mindful of this stuff, because there are tempers flaring. There is agitation. Things are coming to a head. People are stressed out. There's a lot of people moving out of a fear space. These cards are like so bent. They're a little tricky to shuffle, but yeah, you know. And then you do have those people that are just like, hey, I don't care. I don't want to deal with any of this. I just want to make a break for it. And there's those people too, you know. They're ready to dodge all this, you know. For some reason, this is coming in because I know there's been a lot of talk about the draft recently, raising the age of the draft as well. And so there may be some people too that are already making plans for how they'll dodge that draft. I do see that coming in. But this is, to me, it's like people really wanting to run away from things that it would actually benefit them to engage with them. It's what would bring the transformation. It's what would get them closer to what they desire than they realize. Because there's something about the engagement. Yeah, look at that. There's something about the engagement with what's challenging that actually transforms something that's been undiscovered in the emotional realm for a long time. It's also something that really gets you on board on an intuitive level, and being able to know what is the right thing to shed. There's some alignment here. You're coming into alignment with a path of purpose. Also, it feels like with someone who's kindred spirit to you. But this is something that happens over time. We got that like Chiron energy coming through here. It has everything to do with what you've transformed inside of yourself that makes you ready, after addressing your deepest wounds, to come onto this path of purpose. You see, already the path with the wolf medicine is calling to you at a distance. You know, you sense this path coming in, and there is help in navigating this, and there is help coming into alignment with this path. But you got those double threes, then it makes six, you know. There's a path here. It's love and it's beauty. There's a lot of discovery there, but it may be hell getting there. You know what I mean? Because it is a path of purpose. So you do have to show that you're ready. You're ready to face the trials and challenges that come with a path of purpose. There is something that needs to be emotionally transformed here. But I do feel that after this full moon, with the new moon that comes in Aries, there will be some moving forward there. I really feel that's when the path does come into view. Right now, you know, you just got to get into this waterway so you can enter the new flow. There might be some messages or hearing from somebody that will be a helpful person, an ally coming onto your path. Okay. And there's some kind of connection with this individual. But it's a connection that can only come into being after the old karmic cycle has been digested. Then the new world is born, an opportunity for new connection here as well. But there is this sort of resilient quality here, the resilience of the impenetrable diamond, something about discovering all these different facets of yourself, aspects, facets of a situation. There's something that has really been forged in the fire here. It went through a test of incredible pressure and maybe even the unraveling of a knot or two, but along the way, there's some kind of wisdom that's gained. This is really understanding the architecture of your future and what it takes to root your destiny here, and understanding what is ready to be shed and released and digested once and for all, so the new world can come into being here. And then we got crossing energy here. You know, again, it's alchemizing energy, temperance. There's something that does need to be balanced out in order to preserve the dawn. But there is this concealed influence here that we need to be aware of. There's a fox in the hen house, and that can cut the dawn short. So, you know, there are sabotaging influences. These can be subconsciously motivated, or it can be things that we're still connected to, attached to, that we know don't serve us, need to be transformed, that we need to give up. And this is key. You see, isn't that wild? This is what came through, only this time in reverse. Got to drop the defenses and let the love come through, right? Which might be hard, you know, which might be hard when you feel like this undercurrent of this like subversive energy that's operating. But you know, it's impossible to balance something out if you're not able to trust yourself in that space. Do you know what I mean? Sure, maybe other people have concealed intentions. Maybe they have strategies they're putting in play or ways that they're being sneaky, all right? But if you drop your guard and you can trust yourself to be in your open heart, and you can trust your intuition, you're going to be able to spot what doesn't serve you. You don't need to meet somebody in this space by being equally suspicious, guarded, right? All that's going to do is just kind of get you back into this repeat cycle again. This is about you transcending that. And it really involves you not being on the attack, trusting the strength of what you know, trusting in your own intuition, your own experience, the wisdom you've gained, to be able to be open-hearted, to be able to see resilient beauty in your life, to see that despite all that, there's still beauty here. That's what needs your focus. It's when you let down the guard that you're able to come into this beautiful alignment here, and you finally heal that deepest wound of the self. And that's what makes it possible to unite with your path. That's what makes it possible also to unite with helpful others, those you're meant to share your journey with. See, I like this though, because the numbers continue to increase. It started with 32, 32 goes to 33, 33 goes to 36, you see. So just when you feel like dodging the whole thing and you don't want to look at something, maybe somebody comes along that forces you to look at something, or a situation presents itself that forces you to confront your deepest wounds. Maybe even it's in relation to a desire you have to achieve something, a dream that you have, and you have feelings of insecurity around that, or you've bought into what other people have said is possible for you, and so you start kind of putting yourself down and shooting yourself in the foot before you even try to aim at the moon and your highest aspirations there. You know, there's something here that something comes along that kind of holds you up for a minute. And it could be somebody else, or it could be an opportunity that comes your way, or a path that opens up for you that You're like, this is what I've been waiting for. And you recognize, well, I can't run away from doing the work because now I'm all of a sudden confronted with everything that makes me feel scared. Like all of these hidden aspects, what's been holding me back from the relationship, or what's been holding me back from going for that dream, or going on that audition, or going for that interview, or going on that trip, or taking that risk, whatever it may be. Now it's in my face. It's not hidden anymore. And my dawn is here. So I have to transmute this. I have to transform it. It's not about, fighting anybody else. It's about recognizing what's been working against me. It's hiding out in my root cellar. And then you'll be able to digest it, all that 8th house stuff. And then you free yourself. You enter the cycle of rebirth. You get to the other side of what's come to a close. And you get to experience the renewal. So it's actually really positive energy. But that's wild how the attack came out again, only in reverse. So I see you turning this energy around. It looks like it's because a certain person or opportunity or dream comes into view. Some kind of new stimulus comes in here that has you looking at things differently. But I do feel whatever this is, it also causes something that's been operating subconsciously in you to kind of get stirred up. So you have to look at it and recognize the ways that you've been holding yourself back so you can finally transmute this and take advantage of this opportunity. Okay, let me do a cut of the deck, see what we got. Look, and then there's your vehicle forward. Everything changes. Here comes the gift that was promised. There is some gift, some recognition coming through here. It is your chariot forward. So this is beautiful energy. And nothing will look the same ever again, right? But first, you have to bring this cycle to a close with the world, with the zombies here. So see, there is something that's going to crop up here, but it's something you do need to look at. So you can invite in that rebirth energy. See the bats. The bats are all about initiation, rebirth. They also bring good luck. But they do require that you journey into the dark to retrieve your gifts. To retrieve your gifts. Because it's going to be your vehicle forward. So yes, we'll bring in that journeying work. It's really coming in so strongly. We will bring that in this week. And I've been working on something for you all for that. So let's get some numbers and messages here with a little ERISIAN Spirit Board action to cap this off. Ooh, that was wild. It was 1:17:33 on the clock. Yeah, so see, I do feel like you're going to step into that magician energy. You're going to use your fire to transform something and bring renewal in your life. And you are going to have all those aces on the table. These are the seeds of new beginnings for you, but it's up to you. You got to take the action to plant them. Just because the opportunities are there, nothing can be done with them. There can't be the transformation if you're not willing to take action. So something coming through in relation to that pretty strongly. Does bring your star into view. You get to the other side of the long, dark passage and you step through that initiatory gateway and into the light building phase where the dawn comes into view. But it's time to stop, like kind of contemplating your own navel and get into more of a state of willingness to engage with life again, willingness to engage with others, willingness to let down the guards, open up to experience again. And there will be help. There will be help. There's allies with this. There's spiritual help too. And I do feel like there's somebody here, there's somebody of significance you're experiencing some kind of moment of integration, healing with, even if it's a release moment, It's good though. It frees you from the crossroads. The choice that's made here. Okay. We got Life Path 5, Life Path 6, Life Path 1, Life Path 4, Life path 9. Life path 7. Double 6s, double 5s. Okay, 11 energy. Alignment coming in. There is a way forward. It's very clear, but the vehicle forward, the transforming moment, is first tending to this South Node matter, something that really needs to be addressed before you can lay the foundation to open the road and come on to this new timeline. Once you do, though, you will be moving forward in a big, bold way. It's Wheel of Fortune energy. So something does transform. The wheel turns. There's a new beginning here. We do have a yes from Spirit. I also feel like if you've been dealing with situations where you had to look to an outside authority to get the go-ahead, whether that's a boss or somebody who's held certain resources up that you need, that you've had to go through all kinds of red tape with, or you're dealing with an institution, something that's been compromising, something, whatever this is sort of acted as an authority in your life. It could even be just your willingness to say, yeah, this is what I really want to do. And I'm going to do it, even if I get backlash, because I know it's right for me and my heart and soul. You know, it could be like giving yourself the go ahead, okay? It could be coming through that way. I do feel like you're retrieving your gifts here, though. You're doing the work and you are getting the go ahead. You're getting a yes from Spirit. It's good. You are carrying forward the light you need in your lantern as that hermit rising up from the South Node. And you will be using that fire for transformation, really evoking that magician energy, moving out of a place of indecision with the Lovers or the choice. You are making a clear choice. It will be your vehicle forward. For a lot of you, there's just a choice you've needed to make. And your choice is what opens the road. You've been at the threshold too long, either or. It's like, make a choice, you know? What are you investing in? Stop getting so ahead of yourself. Look at where you're at right now. And in each moment, reinvest yourself in what is in alignment with your heart and soul. That's the best anyone can do at this point, okay? But I do see there's something transforming here. Signs that are coming through at the forefront. We have Aries. We have Capricorn. We have Cancer. We have Leo. We have Taurus. We have Libra. We have Virgo. We have Aquarius. Big Emperor energy here. Really strong. I mean, the Aries energy is coming through so strong, so strong. We got Gemini here too. Okay, so all the air signs are out here pretty potently right now. Air and fire, all right? Air and fire. We do have water coming in through Cancer, which is good. We do have Jupiter hanging out there in Cancer, so that's an expansive energy that really is like on the move forward here. So there are going to be those blessings coming in and really getting our orientation as far as where we belong. And we have Sagittarian energy here too. Okay, that's what I got with that. Let's see what messages we got here. I got California coming out right off the bat, so that's a hot point of activity right now. Not sure what is going on there. I got things are on the move. Let's hope it's not those tectonic plates, okay? I don't know if there's like an earthquake brewing there, but that's what I heard. Things are on the move in California, okay? Coming in pretty strongly. Okay, let's see. I got the name Peter coming through. It's making me think of Peter Thiel and how he was doing the engagement at the Vatican, which is interesting. If you know, you know. So I think there's going to be some more interesting developments coming forward in relation to the files and everything that we're being intentionally distracted from right now. There's a lot that's happening in that space as we're distracted by everything that's going on in Iran and everything that's kind of like coming to a head. You know, yeah, we got New Mexico here, so there's a lot of developments with that as they're looking into the ranch. So they're looking into Zorro Ranch and all that. There's going to be like so much stuff that's like, it's almost like there's stuff that's coming out of the vault here that really does need to be looked at, but there's so much happening in terms of the conflict that people aren't even really paying as much attention to that. And I mean, we know it's very intentional. Okay. Come in there. There's a lot we need to be aware of right now too. It's going to become more of a pressing issue around fake news and really starting to question what you see coming through media, because X specifically has been having a big problem with even people that are in positions of, you know, societal authority. They hold high offices and important positions that are perpetuating propaganda in the form of AI footage of, you know, stuff that is supposedly happening, but it's totally manufactured. It's not true. And then it's later it's coming out, you know, and being exposed as being AI generated. So you really have to start having more of a discerning eye in terms of what you're taking in on social media outlets, because most of it is manufactured and most of the real stuff that's going down is largely done out of our view. There's some significant case files that are opening up here. There's something happening with a case of significance. I got she coming out, so this involves a woman. I don't know if this is in relation to the Nancy Guthrie case or not. Interesting. It's something that involves a family of, I heard notoriety. Okay, I'm not sure what that's about. That to me doesn't feel like the Nancy Guthrie case. A family of notoriety. Huh. Interesting. Okay. Family of notoriety. Case. It did, when I thought family of notoriety, it did make me think of the royal family and maybe something where it's more like a case being opened on a woman because she came through, okay? So it could be like a new case being filed. Right. I got Texas coming through here. It's a place of interest. Looks like it's kind of sticking more with macrocosmic messages. I feel like this is predominantly what's wanting to come through here. I don't really see anything else. So I think this is it. This is it for this week in relation to that. So look for some interesting developments. As far as a case, a new case, something being filed may be involving a family of notoriety. And for some reason, it made me think of the royal family. And it looks like it's a she. So would be a woman, I feel. Could be a woman filing a case too. But I'm not so sure about that. That's not really how it's coming through. I feel like it's a case against a woman in a family of notoriety. That will be some big news too, okay? But I do feel like it's in relation to the Epstein files. I feel it's like more of that stuff coming to a surface. But look the other way. Yeah, we got Epstein out here. So I do feel like it's connected to that. I feel that pretty strongly. All right. Do look for more news out of DC. There's going to be new announcements, more stuff happening here. I do have something coming out too about restrictions. So I don't know, man. I'm just wondering if they're going to try to clamp down soon here. You know, I mean, obviously travel is really compromised right now, but I don't know. I feel like there might be something a little bit bigger brewing, a little like reminiscent of 2020 is sort of what I'm picking up here, as much as I don't want to say that. That's sort of a kind of the energy I'm picking up here. Some more restrictions coming in. I know they're already like really advising Americans not to travel outside of the country at all, anywhere right now. But I mean, I feel like there's something a little bit more there that's at play, that it's like, it feels like it's ramping up. I got yes on that. So I do feel like there's something that might start to come through. Press release, it's just the great illusion at play. Got Mahamaya out here, okay. It's the great illusion. Maya, how she spins. Don't go back to sleep, okay? Stay awake. Now is the time to really stay awake. Also, I feel like that would be a good way to direct your energy when you start to feel the intensity of everything that's shifting in the world. Keep yourself active, keep yourself awake, keep yourself focused, you know? Take up a practice that gives you that feeling of strength and resilience, you know? Training, meditation practice. I mean, I think getting physical is good. You want to be healthy for the road ahead, especially if we're going to be heading into territory that does require us to have some strength, endurance for the road. I just heard ET phoned home. So yeah, I mean, there might be some interesting like alien activity, you know? There might be some contact sort of experiences coming through. I think some interesting things are going to start to develop here. And something about somebody being railroaded here, maybe that has information in relation to, I got CIA here. That's coming out of Pennsylvania. Somebody being railroaded that has information. It's interesting how that came in right on the tail of like space stuff, you know? Huh. I got SS coming through here. This might have something to do as well with like a weaponry, military weaponry, or especially like naval. Yeah, naval weaponry. I don't know what that is, but somebody getting railroaded. Got the CIA with that. So I don't know what's going on with that either. All right. I don't want to tap into more of that. So we're going to call it good, but it did want to come through. I got the name Jerry coming out in relation to that. All right, yeah. Well, mostly this looks positive, transformational, but keep your wits about you. Keep your head in the game by keeping your head clear. And stay in touch with your heart. Let your guard down so you can trust in your strength and your empowerment. You can start to forge a different way forward and come together with others of like mind. I do have the last name Sanders here too. All right. So, all right, I'm out. You know what we say. Godspeed.